Breaking news out of Pittsburgh. The college football season has officially kicked off, and all eyes are already turning toward the future of the Steelers. With questions swirling around the quarterback position, the black and gold may be preparing to scout their next franchise leader. But who are the names every Steelers fan needs to watch as the NCAA season begins? Stay tuned, because today we're breaking down the rising stars that could shape the future of Pittsburgh football. Before we dive into the latest updates, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and don't forget to ring the bell icon. That way you never miss breaking Steelers news. Now let's get into it. College football is back, and this weekend is packed with must-watch action. For Steelers fans, it's not just about enjoying the games, it's about keeping an eye on the quarterbacks who could be wearing the black and gold next year. Right now, the consensus draft board lists 6 quarterbacks projected to land in the first round. Leading the pack is Klubnik from Clemson, who scouts believe has the tools to become a true franchise QB. Close behind is Arch Manning from Texas, the highly hyped prospect with a legendary last name and sky-high expectations. At number 3 sits lanorris from South Carolina, followed by LSU's Garrett Nussmeier at number 4. Keep an eye as well on Fernando Mendoza from Cal, a name many fans may not know yet, but one that analysts expect to rise quickly. Rounding out the group is Drew Allar from Penn State, sitting at number 13 on the consensus board. Now, as much as Steelers Nation would love to see Arch Manning in black and gold, the chances look slim. Unless he's locked in as a top 3 pick and lands with a family-approved franchise, like the Browns or the Saints, it's unlikely Pittsburgh will have a real shot. Still, the other quarterbacks in this mix are absolutely worth watching as the season unfolds. Now, let's be real, Steelers fans shouldn't get their hopes too high about Arch Manning landing in Pittsburgh. The chances are slim, but that doesn't mean the search for a future quarterback ends there. In fact, there's an entire group of passers who might crash the first-round conversation if they shine this season. Names like Sam Leavitt from Arizona State and John Madier out of Oklahoma stand out with big-time arm strength. Then there's Nico Iamaleava, the Tennessee transfer now at UCLA, bringing both size and raw talent to the table. Carson Beck, who struggled last year at Georgia, is looking for redemption after transferring to Miami. And don't forget Miller Moss, shifting away from USC to a program with a strong track record of developing NFL-caliber quarterbacks. Beyond that, there's a group of high-upside sleepers worth watching closely. They may not be first-rounders today, but with breakout seasons, they could rocket up draft boards. Talon Green from Arkansas, Kevin Jennings, Dante Moore from Oregon, Jalon Daniels out of Kansas, and Malachi Nelson from Texas all have the physical traits that make scouts pay attention. One of them has already made noise, Jalon Daniels. In Week 0 against Fresno State, he was nearly perfect, 18 of 20 passes completed for 176 yards, 3 total touchdowns, and added 47 yards on the ground. That kind of efficiency and playmaking ability is exactly what can turn a good quarterback into a rising star. And this weekend, the stage gets even bigger. College football fans are getting one of the marquee quarterback matchups right out of the gate: Clemson versus LSU in Death Valley. On one side, you've got Cade Klubnik, the top-ranked QB prospect on the consensus big board. On the other, Garrett Nussmeier of LSU, sitting at number 4. 2 quarterbacks with first-round projections squaring off under the lights. It doesn't get much better than that. And make no mistake, Steelers scouts will be watching closely. When you talk about improvement in college football, few quarterbacks made a bigger leap than Cade Klubnik. Just a season ago, he was ranked near the bottom of FBS passers with a puff grade under 64. Fast forward to last year, he climbed all the way to 5th in the nation with an impressive 87.7. That's not just progress, that's a complete transformation. Only 2 names, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, threw for more touchdowns than Klubnik's 36. Add to that 28 big-time throws, and you start to see why scouts are calling him one of the most dangerous arms in the country. The once hyped 5-star recruit is finally delivering on the promise Clemson fans have been waiting for, and with a loaded roster around him, he has a real shot at pushing the Tigers into championship territory. Now let's break down what stands out on his tape. Klubnik has solid size, though he could add a bit more muscle, but what really separates him is his touch. When he launches a fade down the sideline, It's a thing of beauty, almost effortless. He's also mobile enough to extend plays, escape pressure, and throw accurately on the run. His release is quick, and when the first read is there, he usually hits it without hesitation. But here's the flip side. When defenses force him off that first read, things can get shaky. His consistency, whether in accuracy or decision-making, still has room to grow. At times, he leaves plays on the field that a top-tier quarterback simply can't afford to miss. So while the talent is there for him to be the #1 pick, he still needs to prove he can string it together week after week. And the first real test comes immediately head-to-head against LSU's Garrett Nussmeier. After sitting behind the depth chart for 3 years, Nussmeier finally got his chance last season, and now he's out to prove he belongs in that same elite draft conversation. When Garrett Nussmeier finally got his chance to start, he didn't waste it. Building on the flashes we saw when he was a backup, he exploded for over 4,000 passing yards, ranking 5th in the nation, and added 26 big-time throws, good for 7th overall. But with that aggressiveness came risk. He recorded 18 turnover-worthy plays, one of the highest totals in college football. Now, Nussmeier isn't going to wow anyone with his legs. He finished last year with just 93 rushing yards, easily the lowest among top prospects. What he does bring, though, is toughness in the pocket, the ability to stand tall under pressure, and the confidence to attempt any throw on the field. His style fits perfectly into the mold of what NFL coaches in the Shanahan-McVay tree love: precision, anticipation, and mental processing. He's not a flashy dual-threat quarterback, but he's the kind of steady, cerebral passer that offenses can trust to run a system with timing and discipline. In that way, he draws some comparisons to Matthew Stafford, not quite the same arm strength, but similar in toughness, anticipation, and leadership. Of course, the gunslinger mentality can backfire. Nussmeier sometimes forces the ball into tight windows, trying to make throws his arm can't quite deliver. But when he's on, his mechanics are clean, his reads are sharp, and his accuracy can pick defenses apart. Heading into this showdown with Clemson, he'll be tested against Cade Klubnik in what feels like an early draft audition under the national spotlight. Two quarterbacks with very different strengths, each trying to prove they deserve to be the leader of an NFL franchise. College football is officially underway, and Week 1 is giving us some fascinating quarterback storylines to follow. One matchup that stands out: Notre Dame versus Miami, where all eyes will be on Carson Beck. Beck is trying to pull off what Cam Ward did a year ago, transform from an inconsistent talent into a first-round star. But unlike Ward's meteoric rise, Beck still has a lot to prove. At Georgia, he had everything you could ask for in terms of support: elite talent around him, a strong system, and high expectations. Yet the results never quite matched. Under pressure, he struggled. In clutch moments, he faltered. Accuracy, supposed to be his calling card, often came and went. Now at Miami, it's a fresh start, and he's stepping into a huge test right away. Notre Dame's defense is no easy assignment. If Beck can deliver against that kind of unit, it could be the first real sign that he's capable of rebuilding his draft stock and entering the conversation as a legitimate first-rounder. Meanwhile, another player to keep an eye on this weekend is lanorris of South Carolina. He'll be squaring off against Virginia Tech in a Sunday matchup. Sellers has the kind of dual-threat ability that can change games in an instant, and this opener will be a good early measure of just how ready he is to take that next step. Few quarterbacks are drawing as much intrigue this season as lanorris. He's big, he's physical, and he runs with the kind of power and instinct that can take over a game. Add in his pocket awareness and raw playmaking ability, and you see why scouts believe he could rise all the way to the top of next year's draft. The question is, can he live up to the hype? If he does, he might end up as the #1 overall pick, which would almost certainly put him out of reach for the Steelers. But for now, all eyes are on how he leads South Carolina through the season. Another name to circle is Nico Iamaleava, making his UCLA debut against a tough Utah defense at the Rose Bowl. The move from Tennessee to Los Angeles drew plenty of headlines, but the noise fades if he performs. With his size, athleticism, and natural arm strength, Nico has the tools to ignite that Bruins offense. A big year could quickly push him into the first-round conversation. Then there's Fernando Mendoza, now with Indiana after transferring from Cal. Don't let the lack of buzz fool you. He already sits inside the top 10 on the consensus draft board. Mendoza has a cannon for an arm, sees the field well, and thrives on attacking downfield. With a playoff-caliber roster around him, this is a player who could surge into the national spotlight in a hurry. John Madier of Oklahoma is another fascinating case. The Sooners face Illinois State this weekend, and while the matchup may not grab headlines, the quarterback's tape certainly does. His release is quick, his mechanics are sharp, and his arm talent pops off the screen. He can deliver throws with timing and anticipation that many college passers simply can't. If he stacks strong performances this year, don't be surprised when his name starts creeping into first-round discussions. So, Steelers Nation, those are 7 quarterbacks worth watching closely as the season kicks off. Each has the talent to rise, some even to franchise-changing heights. The only question now is, which of these young guns will prove they belong in the conversation for Pittsburgh's future?